Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, The Appalachian Home. My name is Christy if you are new to this channel. So today I'm excited for this video because I have not done a card making video on my channel before, but I am going to show you how you can create cards using the Cricut Maker 3. And Cricut is actually sponsoring today's video, so thank you to Cricut for sponsoring this video. So for those of you new to Cricut, Cricut is a smart cutting machine that allows you to create personalized projects with hundreds of materials. It works with software called Design Space, and that comes free with your machine. This is where you can create your project and browse from hundreds of images and fonts. And once you've created your design, Design Space will send it to your machine to cut. So we're going to be making 5 different types of cards using our Cricut Maker 3, and all of these projects are very easy, super simple if you are a beginner to using your Cricut machine or your Cricut Maker 3. We are going to be using regular cardstock as well as the new smart cardstock. With the Cricut Maker 3, you do not have to use a mat if you use smart materials. We're also going to be using several different tools that you can use with your Cricut Maker 3, such as your scoring tool and your scoring wheels. We're also going to be using your foiling kit and some of the Cricut pens to create some really neat cards today. First, we're going to do some simple cut and score cards. These are the basic beginning if you have never made cards with your Cricut machine. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and we're going to go ahead and get started creating cards with our Cricut Maker 3. So now we're going into Design Space. Before you start any projects, you will need to download Design Space. Just go to design.cricut.com. It's absolutely free to download and use. Once you have that installed on your computer, you are ready to create your first project. Okay, so getting started with our first project. Before I make my new project, I'm going to go and make sure that my Maker 3 is selected under my machine, and then go ahead and hit New Project. And now I'm going to first show you how you can just make a basic foldable card just using Cricut's images and shapes. So on the left you have a option that says shapes. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to hit a square. And now you can see if I drag my square out and in, it changes the size. If I keep my little lock here closed, it will drag these out proportional, and if I unlock it, it'll drag them out in different shapes. So I'm going to leave this unlocked, and I want to create a card that is a 4x6. So I can change these dimensions up here in my size box by typing in 8 for the width and 6 for the height. So now I have the basic shape of my card. I'm going to change this to white just to make it a little bit easier to see the outline. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to create a fold line directly in the middle of this card. So to do that, you're going to use the score feature, and I'm going to go back into shapes and just select this little line here. If you hover over it, it will say score. Click on that, and now this is automatically going to come up a vertical line. If you wanted a foldable line that went horizontal, you can rotate this 90 degrees to get a horizontal line. But I'm going to change the length of my line to the same height as my card, which is 6 inches. So I'm just going to type in a 6, and now you can see I have a 6-inch long foldable line. So now I want this in the direct center of my card, so you just need to select both of those together and then go to Align and center both of those objects. Once you have your line centered to your card, you want to select both objects again, and now I'm going to attach those to the mat. The reason I do this, if I go to make it and I don't have my score line attached to my mat with my card, then the score line's not going to show up at all. It's going to disappear. Okay, so now I have a basic foldable card shape. You can definitely use some more shapes to either add cutouts in your card or cut out some different colors to glue onto your card. I'm going to be using the heart shape over here in the shape icon. So now I'm both ready to cut out the card and my hearts. If you go to make it, you're going to have a question pop up: how will you load your materials? With the Cricut Maker 3, you can use 3 different ways. You can use it without a mat when you're using smart materials, or you can use on mat if you're using regular cardstock materials. You can also choose multiple ways if you're going to be using both during a project, but for this one I'm going to be choosing on mat. So now it comes up with two different mats, one for the white cardstock for my card and one for the pink for my hearts. We're just going to go ahead and hit continue to make our project. So I'm going to select my base material. I'm going to be using regular cardstock for both of these. I found that for this project the heavy cardstock worked best, so I'm going to choose the heavy cardstock and hit done. So now you are going to come up with your tools that you're going to need. There will be no tools in clamp A, but for clamp B you're going to need to install your scoring wheel, and I'm going to show you how to do that. You will need to change your blade later to the fine point blade. If you look down here at the bottom, it will say coming up fine point blade, so after your scoring tool does its work, you'll know that next you'll need to install your fine point blade. All your prompts will be on your screen to tell you when to do this. So first we're going to go ahead and load our mat into our machine. I am using the light grip mat, which is the blue mat. I'm also going to be using Cricut white and pink cardstock for this project. First you want to go ahead and remove that clear covering from your mat, and you want to save this for later. Now I'm going to simply place my cardstock on my mat, and I'm going to use my little brayer tool to burnish this down. You can also use your hand or your squeegee. To insert your mat, you want to make sure that both of those corners go under your guides, and then just simply press the load button. Your mat will feed through your machine and back so that your machine can read the length of your mat. So now we're going to go ahead and install our scoring tool. There's going to be nothing that goes in clamp A, but in clamp B I'm going to be taking out my fine point blade. You simply open the clamp and remove your tool. Now I'm going to be installing my scoring wheel tip. This is with the quick swap housing. So I already have a housing with my engraving tool, and I'll show you how you can easily swap these out. Just push the button on the top and remove the tip. Now I'm going to take out my double scoring wheel and just simply replace the tip on to your housing. Now you simply just want to drop your scoring wheel into your tool housing and close the clamp, and you're ready to go. Now you want to hit the flashing arrow go button to start your project. Once your machine is finished scoring, your screen will prompt you to replace your fine point blade to finish cutting. When removing cardstock from your mat, it's always best to flip over your mat and remove your mat from your cardstock. This ensures that your cards stay really flat. Now you can go ahead and load any other colors of mats that you're cutting out. I went ahead and cut out these pink hearts, and I'm just removing them with my little spatula tool from the mat. Now you can go ahead and assemble your card. I'm just using some regular craft glue from Walmart. Now we're going to use the writing feature to create some cut and draw cards. I'm going to be creating this Love Doodles card using some red, pink, and white cardstock. I'm also going to be using Cricut fine point pens, and I'm going to be using the black pen for this particular project. You can find the Love Doodles card in Cricut projects, and it's going to give you all of the materials that you're going to need, all the tools you're going to need to use, and a list of instructions on how to make this card. You can also print off these instructions on your printer if you want to have them handy by your side. I'm just going to select Make It because everything is already prepared for you to make this card. You just have to place the materials on your mat. It will also tell you which tools you're going to need to use on each mat. So first I'm going to go ahead and install the scoring stylus. You can use your scoring wheel as well, but instead of changing out my blades, I'm just going to pop in my scoring stylus. Make sure you edit your tools on your mat. We're going to be cutting out our envelope first. Next, we will install the pen into our clamp number A to draw some designs on our card. And since we're using the pen in clamp A, I'm switching out the blade to install the scoring wheel. Once my machine is finished drawing, I'm just going to reinstall my fine point blade so that it can finish cutting out my card. After all of the mats are finished cutting, now I'm ready to assemble my card. I'm just going to fold everything on the fold lines that we created. Then I'm going to be using craft glue and double-sided tape to create the envelope and put the card together. You can make printable cards such as this Best Dad Father's Day card using Cricut's Print Then Cut feature. All you need is just a regular printer, some good quality printer paper, and some cardstock. And for this project, I am using orange and white. On the first mat, you see that there is this black square border around our image. That means that this is our Print Then Cut. We're going to want to print this first and then continue the rest of our project. So I'm going to go ahead and put some regular printer paper. You can use cardstock as well. I do turn off the bleed and use my printer dialog so that I can change the settings to high quality. Once your image has finished printing out, you'll want to place it on your mat and load it into your machine. Cricut will then read those black registration marks to line up the image to cut out. Now we're going to go ahead and cut out the rest of our materials. Just be sure to change out your tools as needed and as it prompts you on your screen. Assembling this card is super easy. You're just going to fold all those parts that need to be folded. And then for the front of this card, I'm going to create just a little bit of a 3D effect. I'm using these round foam dots. They're adhesive on both sides. And I'm just going to place it on the back of this small little cutout. And that's going to create a 3D effect on the front of my card. Now I'm going to show you how you can make three-dimensional cards, and we're going to be using smart cardstock for this project. So this is the smart sticker cardstock that you don't have to use a mat with your machine. I'm going to change the colors of my project to match the colors that I have in my smart cardstock packet. I'm also going to be using some white regular cardstock as well. If you go to make it, you'll see that you can choose with or without a mat options. I'm going to be doing this multiple ways, so I'm just going to hit that and select continue. And now I want to fit most of this white regular cardstock onto one mat, so I'm just going to change my mat length to 24 inches. I'll just be using my green mat for this portion. Cricut actually makes a longer cardstock you can use for this. And then you can see the rest of these here are going to be using smart cardstock without a mat, and then the last mat is going to be with regular cardstock. So I'm going to be selecting first for the white portion the heavy cardstock. I'm going to be using this 12 by 24 on my green mat to get started. Now I'm going to go ahead and load my Smart Paper sticker cardstock into my machine. I've already changed the material settings to Smart Paper cardstock. I'm just going to load this in and let it cut. And now I'm just going to go through and finish all of my mats until I get down to the last mat. And for this one, I'm actually going to use the Smart Paper cardstock, but I'm going to be using a mat since I'm going to be using my scoring tool. Your machine will not score unless you have a mat. And now that we have all of our pieces cut, we're going to assemble the card. I cut out this white dome-shaped piece to go on the back of the sticker cardstock because I didn't want it sticking to the card once I inserted it, so I had to create that extra white little arch to go over the yellow sticker cardstock. If you're going to be using regular yellow cardstock, you don't have to do this step. Finally, we're going to be using the foil transfer kit and some gold transfer foil by Cricut to create some really neat designs. I'm going to be using this honeycomb gift card. It's a super simple project to do. You're going to need your double scoring wheel, your foil transfer kit, and your cutting blade. I'm just placing some black regular cardstock on my mat. First, I'm installing my scoring tool, and I'm going to finish scoring my lines. Next, it's going to come up on your screen. What you need to do, you're going to need to load your transfer tool and your gold foil. The gold foil sheets do include these white strips that are going to be used to tape down to your mat. So I just like to place one on one end, so that makes it easy to place onto my mat. And you want to tape all four sides down and get your foil sheet as smooth as possible. Now we'll load the foiling tool. The foiling tool actually comes with a housing and 3 different tips: the fine tip, medium tip, and bold tip. You can tell the difference in how many lines are on each tip. The bold tip will have 3 lines. And now we're just going to install it into our machine, hit the go button, and continue with our project. On your screen on your computer, it will prompt you to remove all your tape and your foil before continuing with your cut. It'll also prompt you to change out your foiling tool and replace your fine cut blade. You can make so many neat cards using your Cricut Maker 3. This is just a few of the projects you can make with this machine. I'm going to leave a link for all the projects I used, including the materials I used and the machine itself, in the description box below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you back again in my next video.